How you doing, guys? Everybody, my name is Andrew.
Hey guys, I'm Fabio.
Hi, Julian.
Don't be shy.
Little nervous, yeah.
Welcome to Pop Culture AF. We are three guys that had literally talk about pop culture. It's what we do, but that's what we do on a daily basis, pretty much. So we decided, why not make a channel, right?
Yeah.
Why not make a channel and be a part of a bigger community that's out there. We wanted to just get together and talk about pretty much anything that's on our minds. And we're the new guys on the block, so hopefully, we are received well
Hmm.
as we go along. So given the topics that we're going to speak about today, we have Supergirl, the film Supergirl, coming out this weekend. And given the topic of relevancy, we would like to talk about two films that are in relation to Supergirl in a sense. We would like to talk about Man of Steel that came out how long ago? 10 years ago?
More than that, 2013.
2013. Look at that. So back in
Yes.
2013. And we want to talk about Superman 2025, which is the predecessor to Supergirl that came out this weekend. So I want to touch upon the beginning of each DC universe, okay? Because Man of Steel and Superman 2025 are two different DC universes that were created. And Man of Steel was directed by Zack Snyder, and Man of Steel came out off the heels of the Dark Knight trilogy. And given the success of the Dark Knight trilogy, is one of the greatest, I would say, you could argue one of the greatest Batman movies, I would say, Batman
Batman
trilogy,
trilogy, yeah,
Yeah.
at the time for sure.
of the time.
I mean, still
Uh,
pretty good.
what was that?
No, still, Dark Knight is pretty out there.
Pretty up there,
Like the
Yeah,
right?
trilogy,
I would say,
yeah,
yeah, I would say it's pretty up there too, and
yeah.
so it's the height of DC was basically at its peak, I would say, at the time.
yeah.
And Christopher Nolan was a producer on
Mhm.
that film as well after directing the Dark Knight trilogy. So that kind of, there's a certain expectation, if you will.
Yeah.
And given that, they were looking at the backstory is we have, a DC that was at its peak, okay, and when Man of Steel came out. And then when Superman 2025 came out, which, DC was it was the downfall of the DCEU.
Yeah, it was coming off of the heels of the end of that universe, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. So they both had different challenges. And the thing that is interesting about that is why that is, why that transpired.
Mhm.
The good thing is that, so for Man of Steel, which I'm going to touch upon first, it's a real world setting of Superman. It's Superman in our world, if you will. Yes, it's the
Yeah,
DC universe, but it was kind of real world,
yeah, more
take on it.
realistic.
Like kind of the same way that Christopher Nolan was sort of taking the Dark Knight and basically trying to make him fit into our world, making a more grounded Batman. That's kind of what they wanted to do with this Superman and Man of Steel. They wanted to see like, all right, what would it be like if Superman existed in our world? How would people actually respond to that? And I think they accomplished that pretty well in that movie.
I would say so as
Yeah.
well. I would say they accomplished that as well. And it shows also the weight of being Superman.
Yes, for sure. You really feel that it is something that he has to struggle with for sure.
So and then, in Superman 2025, in the heels of the DCEU, which has fell terribly, that was more of a comic book world. And the DC universe was alive and thriving. And it was, Superman was Superman for what, 3 years?
Yeah, 3 years at a time. Yeah.
About 3 years. So 3 years at the
Yeah.
time. So he's still a young Superman, but a hint of more experience. But well, I'll digress on that
Yeah.
because I do have a
Yeah.
preference actually, which Superman I prefer right now, but I'll digress.
I got
Given the I looked up the Rotten Tomatoes score for Man of Steel. It's sitting now currently at 56%. So it's down the middle. It's split.
Yeah.
Audience score is 75%. So,
That's I'm
you
surprised
know,
it's that high for the
yeah,
audience.
it's so audiences I would say, are receiving it better
Yeah.
now. I say
Yeah.
Man of Steel is probably the most underrated film. I would
Out of
go
what?
I would say super underrated.
Out of like DC
I'm actually,
films?
huh?
Among
Out of
DC
like
films?
DC films?
Out of like DC films,
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
think yeah,
Underrated?
super
Yeah. Okay.
underrated.
Yeah.
And until this day, I will defend that film, you know, very, 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 to the end. I will defend that film. I had tons of arguments with people about it. It was kind of ridiculous. When it first came out, the response to that movie was on both ends. And I was
Yeah.
like,
I
why?
It's
remember.
very divided. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
expect that film to be that divided. I honestly really did not expect that at all.
Yeah.
What do you think?
We can get into a little bit more about that. If you want to touch a little bit about Superman and talk about that, and then we could go into like the tone of each other's films, and maybe like that was why like that could tie into like why audiences responded to the way they did to it in terms of like their tones.
Sure.
So like Superman 2025, how was that Rotten Tomato score?
So the Rotten Tomatoes
That
score
shit is probably
for
so high.
Superman 2025, it's high. It's
Yeah, it has to
83%.
be. Yeah. I expected that.
83%, 83% audience score 90.
Okay. So
Yeah.
definitely way more favorable to the Superman than 2025 one
Yeah.
than Man of Steel.
Yes, it's definitely was received a lot better.
Yeah.
Now, I personally, do I think it's the better film?
I think that's not the best question to ask because it's like they're both like we said that we're gonna talking about the tones now. It's like they're both trying to do two very different things
Very
here.
different
No,
thing.
It's
yeah,
like
dude.
Man of Steel is definitely like we said before is supposed to be like man the world the character of Superman in our world. So it's a much more grounded, much more realistic, much grittier kind of version of the
Yeah.
character. Like the colors, everything is much darker. So because that's what they're
Yeah.
trying to go for.
Yeah, and Superman 2025, you could tell it's very much brighter, even down to the
Straight from a comic
costumes.
book.
Straight from a
Exactly.
comic
Yeah.
book.
Straight from a comic book. Yeah.
So like I'm not sure it's asking whether which one's better. I think it's more of like which do you prefer? Like which interpretation of the character do you like more?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
which is great. I mean, there is, there's no right or wrong answer here
And
in
now
that sense.
just comparing them.
Yeah, we're just comparing. There's no right or
Yeah.
wrong answer, but people do have their version of who Superman is to them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And like if Julie, do you want to talk a little bit about like, the director's like take on like Superman, like Man of Steel? Like it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
what was Zack
So
Snyder's interpretation of that
so
character?
well, Zack Snyder's whole view of the DCU was like dark. Like you got Superman killing Zod in the first movie. Superman doesn't kill. Come on, he's like a Boy Scout. Like he's not supposed to kill. And then with other films of him, being dark, like in my opinion, I don't really like that. Like I hated the DCU. Like I don't really like Man of Steel. I think it's one of the worst Superman movies out there. Freaking hated Man of Steel. But yeah, I feel like compare it to like James Gunn's view. I feel like James Gunn's view is more it's more like how do I explain it? It's like more like straight from a comic book. Like it's straight from a comic book, straight from any other Superman source of media, which I like. Like I prefer 2025 Superman more than Man of Steel. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah.
That's fair. All right. Now, do you want to go into talking about like the Supermen themselves, like characters?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go into that now. All right.
Absolutely.
Superman. All right. So now it's a good segue into there. So we talked about the tones and everything. So it's obviously very different. So let's talk about Man of Steel, Henry Cavill's version of the character, how he is as a Superman.
So Henry Cavill, and this is something that I want to go back a little bit in terms of Superman in general and the actors who played him for a second,
Mhm.
and it ties into what I mean about Henry Cavill. So back even as far as, like Christopher Reeve Superman, who, people, I've talked to tons of people over the years, family, friends, all that stuff. Like they say that he's the quintessential Superman.
Yep.
Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
That's what they say, that he is, when you think of Superman, you think of him.
Like he set the bar.
He set the bar. That the tone, the theme song for Superman
Yeah.
is legendary, and it still plays, even bits of it plays all the way now to 2025 Superman.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
in different mediums and stuff like that, even in Smallville and on, the show Smallville and all these different stuff.
Superman, the animated
The
series.
animated series. So like these, that Superman theme was always there. And given that the actor playing Superman was never that popular until they got into the role of Superman. So like Christopher Reeve wasn't that popular at that time,
Yeah.
until he became Superman. And now same thing with Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill has done films since he was like a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been an actor.
He's
yeah.
been an actor for a while, but this was the movie that put his face out into the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
Going on
You
what you
know,
said, I feel like David Cornsweet is the most successful Superman before getting the Superman role, because he was like in movies like Pearl, he was in movies like Twister, like
Mhm.
he got bigger roles before going into being Superman.
Yeah, like with Henry Cavill, it's like you can't really name too many of his films that he was in before Man of Steel. Like this was the
Right.
one
Yeah.
that like really put him on the map.
absolutely, definitely put him on the map. And Henry Cavill's Superman, his take of Superman, he wasn't Superman very long. He was Superman
Holy hell, what movie?
days.
He had been Superman for only a few days. Like he had just figured out like he found the crashed Kryptonian ship. Met his father Jor-El, and he got the suit. He maybe had it for like a couple like days before Zod attacked. So it's like this is like
Yeah.
this is his first week on the job.
Literally, his first week on the job, and when you
Sure.
start any job, you're gonna be terrible in the beginning anyway. You either have a natural, or you're gonna struggle.
Yeah,
When you take on a big responsibility, something new, you're gonna have these little bumps, and that's essentially what happened in Man of Steel.
yeah,
He's stepping up to a big responsibility that he might not have been ready for.
hmm
And he's still learning about himself. He's still learning about his limits. He's still learning about, what is he capable of. Henry Cavill's take on Superman weighs heavy,
yeah.
I would say.
I agree.
You're the most powerful being on the planet, possibly in the universe, at least at that time.
hmm
And, it weighs heavy. That responsibility does weigh heavy, and his engagement in the world, he's trying to figure out his place. So I always felt that, it shows the difficulty of being Superman. When you're young, you want to be a superhero, have all these powers and stuff like that. You
Yeah.
always dreamed of being a superhero, when you're a kid and all that stuff. But that's why I always appreciated Man of Steel, because it shows it's not easy
Yeah.
to have that kind of power.
All that responsibility.
Even though I don't like Man of Steel, one of my favorite things about the film is that they show him as like a kid trying to figure out his powers, trying to figure out that like it's not normal or anything.
And that's a
But
good
yeah,
point.
that's what I like.
That's a good point. When he first got his powers as a child, freaking terrifying.
Oh yeah, like you
Yeah.
imagine that, like you're just sitting in school one day, all of a sudden you can see through people's bodies. It's like that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what's going on. It's scary.
Yeah, any kid will freak out.
Yeah, and so like you can tell like from that moment, like he felt like an outsider. It's like, and I feel like that's how Henry Cavill seems to approach this super version of Superman, where like he's very much an outsider. Like he feels that he doesn't belong to this world just yet, but at the same time, over the course of the film, he's given a choice to either like he can go with Zod and save Krypton, but then that destroys the Earth, or it's like, or he chooses to fight Zod and protect the Earth. ultimately he chooses to protect the Earth because that's he's Superman. But like the fact that he was almost like you weren't quite sure, like he wasn't quite sure which way to go because he hears this whole other part of his life that he didn't get to experience, and maybe he wouldn't feel like such an outsider anymore because there would be more people like him. Whereas now it's like no, and it's like I'm not going to allow the people of this earth to die out simply so that I can get the chance to be with other people of my kind. That's not fair to them. And he ultimately made that choice to like stop Zod from terraforming the earth and ultimately make that ultimate sacrifice to like I gotta stop Zod too, which we'll get to like that villain is when we get to that point. But like, I think that's what it was, like the weight of being Superman and him feeling like an outsider was this Henry Cavill approach to the character.
Yeah. So, that's one thing that I always appreciated about that role, and about that take on Superman is it can weigh heavy. So, and in comparison to David Cornsweet's Superman,
Yeah.
who's been Superman for 3 years, still a young Superman. Yeah, still, he's a Superman with some experience, but not a whole lot either.
Yeah.
But he instills more of the Boy Scout Superman,
Yeah.
the all-star Superman, if you will. I like people say he is the quintessential Superman now. So he instills hope, he instills light. He is a bit of a Boy Scout, naive at times.
Yeah, but that is kind of how Superman is in the comics too. Like the one that the interpretation we're more akin to at this point. Yeah.
But it's also a Superman that's also like potential for growth into other things as well.
I agree.
Henry Cavill Superman walks so David Cornsweet Superman can fly now, essentially.
Yeah.
So David Cornsweet Superman is going to go in a direction that I think Henry Cavill Superman would have went.
Yeah, and had they been allowed to like continue, Zack Snyder been allowed to go in the direction he wanted to go, and I feel like he would have gotten to that point eventually.
Eventually, I think he would have, Henry Cavill Superman would have had the opportunity to become that hopeful, confident Superman. If the DCEU was thriving.
Yeah, it was still able to go, in the way he wants to,
which they didn't get a chance to do. But now David Cornsweet has a chance now. So, his version of Superman has a chance to take his Superman to new heights, if you will. And he does instill, that sense of hope. He does. He sees the good in people. And in living things.
Yes.
And
that's something we can talk about that too, is the fact that like I recently saw Man of Steel not so long ago, and a lot of people are complaining saying that like, oh, that Superman doesn't prioritize or like save lives. It's like he does save some lives, although clearly he's an inexperienced Superman. Like his priority was stopping like Zod and his henchmen, essentially. Like that was his goal. There was some collateral damage for sure.
A lot of collateral.
Yeah. But like that was the different interpretations of that too, because like with the David Cornsweet Superman, they went out of their way to showcase like, oh, he's protecting everybody. Like he even saved a squirrel. Like it's like every life is precious to him. Like he's gonna try to save everybody.
To be honest, I don't agree with the squirrel thing.
I see James Gunn's vision with that. Like, I get it. Like, the whole point, like, apparently test audiences didn't like the squirrel either. But James is like, I like the squirrel. It's staying in. Like, and I get it. I see your vision, James Gunn. It don't matter if it's a tiny little
his
squirrel.
character, bro. It makes
vision
sense.
too. But how many thousands of squirrels already?
Like, it makes sense for his character. That's what.
Yeah, you can't save everybody, but dang it, this Superman 2025, he's gonna try to save everybody.
I was like, he saved one squirrel. I'm sure there's about 5,000 squirrels that got crushed.
Yeah, well, at the same time, it's like, damn it, well, this is the one that he was able to do that. He was the one he could save. He saved the dog too. And I appreciate that about that. Superman.
Yes, you have to save the dog because people are very sensitive when it comes to their pets.
Yes.
People are very sensitive when it comes to pets. So I can understand saving the dog.
Yeah.
But the squirrel, you're fighting a kaiju that stepped on 10,000 squirrels. But whatever.
Yeah, so, and we want to talk about also maybe like the the fights about this one? Like,
Yes,
I
okay.
like
yes,
yeah.
I, I do have something to say about the fighting.
All right. You want Man of Steel first or Man of Superman first?
Man of
I'll do Man of
Steel.
Steel first.
Okay, Man of Steel first. All right, have fights in that one.
The fight scenes are great.
No,
The
they're
fight
really
scenes,
good.
Yeah.
yeah, the action
It's the
was
best part
great.
of the movie.
Yeah.
The
I
action, I
would say
think.
so too. Zack Snyder has always
Yeah.
been a visual
Oh
guy.
my god, that punch that he does to Zod, like
Bro,
that's iconic punch now. Like so many of the
exactly.
Superman
It
media
was in
have copied that
Injustice
exact
2.
punch
It
where
was
he
in
punches him and
Injustice
flies
2.
up
It
and
was
punches him
like,
again.
yeah.
There's a special in Injustice
Yeah,
Among Us
that,
video
Yeah,
game.
that's what I
that's
was saying. Yeah.
yeah.
Injustice
Yeah.
2, yeah.
Yes.
Injustice 2.
Injustice
Right,
2,
right.
yes.
Injustice 2. And that was straight out of Man of Steel.
Yeah, like so
Yeah.
yeah.
So one thing I liked about Henry Cavill Superman was even though he's inexperienced, he will fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
He will fight.
Yeah.
He's fighting villains that are way more experienced than him in terms of combat.
Yeah.
They're dealing with Kryptonian soldiers here. And he still will put up a good fight. He's a boy from Kansas, but he's putting up a fight.
Yes.
You know?
And it makes
Yeah.
sense why he's not like just straight up dog walking them because of the fact that he hasn't had his powers for like too long at this point. Like he's using them the way that like in this way. And two, like you said, they're experienced Kryptonian soldiers. They know how to fight.
Yes. Yeah, they know how to throw down. And that ties into one of my problems with Superman 2025. Okay.
Mhm.
He got beat up a lot. More than I wanted him to get beat up. The film
Yeah.
started with him beat up. And I do
Yep.
not think that you're starting a brand new film, brand new take on a hero that people are familiar with. I just think that you should not start with him losing and injured. And then he got back into the fight and got injured some more. He got injured throughout the entire film. And I get it,
Yeah.
it's Superman. Technically, he could win most of his fights, and they're trying to create, adversity for him.
Yeah.
I can understand that, but don't start injured.
Julie, what do you think,
I'll
man?
say that I like him getting beat up more than how Zack Snyder portrayed Superman as a god, making him not unbeatable. Which like Superman can be beat. Obviously, you see it in Batman versus Superman and other comics and shit. But yeah, I like the way that they betrayed him losing because every superhero is gonna go through a losing phase. So, yeah.
Yeah, and some people do agree with that.
Yeah.
Some people do agree with
I,
that.
I had like a little like discourse with someone about that. How like I prefer like even though I do like the Superman 2025, I also don't like the fact that this movie kind of is making like it's like it's starting like in a lived-in universe, which I like, but at the same time, it's like
Yeah.
it is banking on a lot of your knowledge of the character. Like we know Superman is very powerful. We know that like he can pretty much take on almost any opponent in a fight. And the movie even says this is the first time in 3 years that he's ever lost a fight. Except we didn't see that beforehand. This is our first introduction to the character. Our first introduction is him getting beat up. I would have liked if maybe you had like I don't know, move the kaiju fight early on, show us how he handles that, show us how powerful the Superman is, and
Mhm.
then introduce like the Hammer of Bravia and have him get beat. Because
Yes.
this way we can get a baseline of like, okay, this is how strong this Superman is. Like, oh snap, this guy is even better, like just as strong, or if not stronger than him, and he got beat. So I feel like we would have felt the weight of that loss more if we knew how strong this Superman was before he lost.
And another thing, they also, he like stopped the whole war
Yes.
and all this stuff that transpired, which started like a good, controversial topic that
Yeah.
his actions, and who he represents and all that stuff, who Superman represents and all that stuff. That's all off screen
Yeah, that all happened before the movie started.
before the movie started. I feel like that did the character a disservice because you get to see him. You should be able to see him engage in that situation. Like that would have been a great way to
Yeah.
even start the film.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
ending a war and then the consequences of doing that. By not speaking to our world leaders and things of that nature. He just
Yeah.
kind of took it upon himself to do that. Would have fleshed out more also, like, what Lex Luthor is doing, like, in terms of why he's doing what he's doing,
Yeah.
you know, against Superman. I think had they shown his actions, in
Right.
that country,
Yeah.
I forgot what the country was.
Bravia.
It was Bravia?
Bravia, and I forget the other country's name.
Jangapore. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Two fictional countries.
Two fictional countries. And a lot of that was off screen, and I think that didn't help show the strength of Superman and what he's trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress.
So, Julian, anything else you want to add to like the last thing before we move on to the next topic?
Nah.
Nah, very good. All right.
Good? Okay.
All right, supporting cast. Here we go. All right. The family of Jor-El and the Kents are like basically like the L family. So, all right, we could talk about how they are in Man of Steel first, then move on to Superman 2025. All right, so Jor-El in Man of Steel.
So Jor-El, Man of Steel.
He was a
So
badass, bro.
He was.
He was
Badass,
a badass.
yes.
Yeah.
played by Russell Crowe, the great Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
And again, ties into the history of Superman, putting a familiar face in that role.
Yeah.
Because Marlon Brando was Jor-El, who was a legend of that time.
Mm-hmm.
Which helped build Christopher Reeve Superman.
Yeah.
So kind of the same thing happened here. So Jor-El, played by the great Russell Crowe, his is so significant. His character is so significant, and it build into Henry Cavill's performance as Superman. So it's like kind of cool. But definitely the most badass take of Jor-El that we've had on screen.
Yeah, in live action anyway.
In live action.
Yeah.
Watching him kick some serious ass, and just I saw Jor-El in a different light.
Yeah, and also I think it's cool to say the fact that like they made this version of Superman a little bit more Christ-like basically, but like basically he made him different from the other Kryptonians there, because in this version of Krypton, all the children are essentially like grown, and they all are given like a set purpose. Like, you were grown, you were made to do this, you were made to do that. So in this case with he's the first natural born birth in like over like a millennium essentially. It's like, so there hasn't been like a natural born Kryptonian in years. And so that makes Superman special, because like he's not predetermined to be something. He has the freedom to choose what he's going to be. And that's what his parents wanted for him. And they knew this because they knew that the planet was going to be destroyed. So they knew that like, we want to give our child the opportunity to choose who they are going to be, where they go. And hence the reason he chose Earth, because he knew that like, oh yeah, no, he'll be safe here because he'll be under a yellow sun. He'll have all these powers. They'll look to him as a god, and hopefully he'll be able to lead them to like, a brighter tomorrow. Like that was the main goal of like Jor-El and the L family for that in that film.
I always found also interesting too is that Jor-El knew that Superman would be a god amongst men.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Even Superman himself went to church.
Yes, he did in that movie.
He didn't believe himself to be a god.
Oh, I forgot that happened.
That's true. Yeah, when he was in a very like stressful situation, not sure how to handle his last situation, he went to a church to ask a priest for advice.
And I thought that was a very, 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 very great scene. And also in ties with Jor-El and the world of Krypton were very different from both films as well.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Like Superman 2025's Krypton, it's implied. It looks like a lot like the classic Krypton look.
And yeah, like they're in the white cloaks and everything, like they do in the Christopher Reeve versions.
Exactly. And then Krypton in Man of Steel was a very lively planet with an ecosystem.
Yeah, it kind of looked like Pandora a little.
Yes, kind of like a Pandora.
It did.
They had animals and flying creatures.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty much like a Pandora.
Yeah. That's like, and like obviously like we can talk a little bit about like how the interpretation of Jor-El in Superman now. So
Jor-El was played by Bradley Cooper.
Yes.
Very different take. Yeah. Well, Bradley Cooper also had a history with James Gunn, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
James Gunn tends to work with
actors that he likes and works with them again. Like you see other actors who exist in other James Gunn films pop up again in future films.
Happens, yeah. You're gonna see that quite often with James Gunn.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a surprise, Bradley Cooper, but very small role, very, very small role.
Yeah.
He's a hologram. He was already long gone.
Yeah.
Jor-El was already long gone.
Mhm.
But that take on Jor-El is a very, I guess,
It
controversial.
was controversial when it first popped out. Now, not as much. Now that like people have kind of had the time to sit with it.
So my thing is though, I still do not believe what that reveal was.
But you still think it was fake?
I still think it was fake.
Julian, what do you think?
What do you think?
I think it was fake too. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah, I thought, yeah, I think it was definitely fake because,
I think I like the fact that like you can kind of go either way. Like James Gunn was smart about this because like he revealed it, said that it was like legit, but who knows? It could come out and say like, oh no, it was actually fact, like like doctored. Although like James Gunn himself has come out and said that and confirmed like, oh no, it's real. Like that is in fact what the actual message was. Actual message was like this. Like Luthor didn't have to change anything. It genuinely was that. He just fixed the rest of the message. Yeah, Jor-El and the Superman's parents did in fact send him to his parents, send Superman to this planet for the sole purpose of him creating a harem and basically recreating Krypton so that
Becoming Omni Man, basically.
essentially becoming Omni-Man,
Becoming
basically
Omni
like
Man.
basically like rule over this planet because you're basically going to be way more powerful than any of them. And
Yeah.
so I actually kind of like the fact of that version because like it's not this is the only version that has done that. Like Smallville had touched upon that a little bit.
it
Like
did.
yeah,
Yeah.
his parents were like kind of were the reason that were sending him over here to be a conqueror, and also the new show My Adventure to Superman also had that too. The Kryptonians before Superman even arrived on Earth freaking attacked Earth in that show as well. So like I kind of like
I
this
need to
idea
watch
that
that
like
now.
the Kryptonians are not like this kind benevolent force, and they didn't send Superman on Earth as like to save Earth or protect it. So, but the fact is, like Superman is Earth protector because of Earth itself, not because of like he's not doing this because his parents are telling him to do this. He's doing it because he himself wants to do this. And it's like, and I kind of like that. It shows it more like it shows more agency to Clark. So it's like I'm a hero because I choose to be a hero, not because it's what my parents wanted me to be.
Valid. Yeah, all right,
Yeah,
all
sure.
right. I'm valid.
Yeah.
Yes.
But like,
Still fake.
but it's still interesting because like in a way, like both Jor-El parents, in a strange way, kind of gave their son a choice, kind of like they told their son, like in the Superman 2025, they told him like you should do this, but ultimately it's his son's decision. And same with Jor-El, it's like their parents and Man of Steel, it's like it's like you're gonna go on this planet, and it's like you will be a god amongst these people, but like you can lead them to be something better, and but it's your choice at the end of the day. It's like you choose what you want to do.
That's one thing both films have in common is choice.
Yeah.
So they definitely touched upon choice. It's just a matter of, you know, the responsibility as well of being
Hmm.
Superman and becoming, assuming this role, if you will.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they both in common that they both have an element of choice,
Yes.
which I found very interesting.
Right.
Julian, do you want to add anything else with Jarrell and anything with both any takes or anything?
No, not really.
Are you
All right.
good?
Like the Man of Steel version of like the Kents, like Ma and Pa Kent, like I think it's John, right?
John
John
and
John and
Martha
Martha,
Kent.
So,
Jonathan and Martha Kent. Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of both similar. Like they're both supporting parents. Like there's no difference between them. I think.
You don't think so?
I don't think there's any difference, to be
I mean,
honest.
like I know there's like that infamous scene where like Clark saves when he's a kid, he saves the bus of his classmates from drowning, and then one of the kids that parent of one of the kids that they say that Clark saves sees talks to John and Martha and tells them that like that was a miracle, it was like an act of God, and so like you see John go out and talk to Clark and telling him that we talked about this. You got to keep this side of you a secret. And then Clark's like, "What should I?" It's like, "What should I have done? Should I just let them die?" And then John's like, "I don't know, maybe." And like that's a clip that people tend to use to like saying like, "Oh my God, this version of Superman's parent is telling him to let kids die," basically.
Yeah.
You know, I think the Kents in both of these are different in a sense because the Zack Snyder version of the Kents, you know, actually, I'll take it back a little bit further. It was great to have familiar faces to play them.
Yeah, I agree.
Kevin Costner and
Yes.
Diane Lane are iconic actors and actresses. And, very familiar faces, and that's what draws people into films is familiar faces, And I also felt that they carried the weight, a similar weight to what Henry Cavill's Superman, carried. Because they saw the responsibility of raising, someone who is essentially a god amongst men, and what direction they knew the responsibility of raising a child that is going to change this world.
Yes.
And I think they carried that responsibility with grace, and they carried it very well.
And I think it ties into the thing we're talking about, how this is a more realistic take on that. And let's be honest, if you yourself were soundly given the opportunity to raise a child with superpowers, it would be a huge heavy burden on you of how do I do this? You're essentially it's basically like how Joseph and Mary in the Bible must have felt having to raise Jesus. It's like we're raising God here, and it's how do we do this?
Yeah. So their roles are just as pivotal as Superman such.
Yeah.
And the Kents in Superman 2025 are like that down to earth.
Yeah.
Kind of Western,
family,
life.
It's like they have these the middle America kind of family values they have there. And
it looked like they gave Clark a happy childhood.
Yes.
It looked like they, when you see the little family footage and all that stuff.
At the end, it looked like he had a really good life. And he could totally understand why he chose to be a hero, not simply because of his birth parents, but also because of his adopted parents. They gave him just a beautiful childhood, making him see the good in others, raising him to be someone of good value. So it makes sense. Of course you're going to be how you are today as an adult. Look at how you were raised.
Yes. They definitely had different approaches, So almost like the Kents and Zack Snyder, that responsibility weighed heavy on them, I'm sure. And they were afraid of, losing their son too, because Martha Kent was saying that she was afraid that, that they would take Clark away from her, which in a real world setting, they probably would have.
Oh, for sure.
The government,
they find out that you're harboring an illegal alien, they're absolutely going to take him away.
Yeah. Most likely they took him away. So that's a hard cross to bear.
Yes. And you felt that in the Zack Snyder films.
And you do feel that, versus in Superman 2025, Clark was raised relatively a normal child.
Yeah.
Based on what we see.
Yes.
We haven't really seen, any of his hardships,
That's in growing up in childhood, yes.
Yeah, we haven't really seen that stuff.
No.
We just saw the family footage, so it looks like, happy childhood.
Yeah.
So and that carried into their adulthood.
Yes.
If you will.
Yeah.
Juju, anything you want to say in regards to the Kents?
I'm not gonna lie, in my opinion, I can't compare them just because I haven't seen the 2025 version a lot, compared to Man of Steel. It's I can't.
Okay.
I don't really have a lot to say.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good, man.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right, so we can talk a little bit about the Lois Lanes, how do their characters, relationship with Superman, and how do they fit into the plot, the story's plot.
Lois Lane, great. So in Man of Steel, great Amy Adams.
Yes.
I love Amy Adams. I've always loved Amy Adams, and tons of projects that she has done. I've heard a mixed bag with Amy Adams. I thought she was great in the role.
Yeah, I like her.
I personally thought she was
It
great.
was good too. I'm not gonna lie.
You liked her too? Yeah.
You liked her
Yeah,
as
I
well?
liked her. Yeah.
Yeah, she was
wasn't that
feisty. Yeah. She was definitely feisty, and
kept putting herself in a dangerous situation, as Lois Lane is known to do.
Yeah, she's definitely known for that. But she was also very curious, about about Clark and who he is.
Yeah, like tracking the fact that it's like, oh, he's this guy. There's this mysterious guy who's constantly saving people. Like, who is he? Where did he come from? Why is he doing this?
Her is drawn by her, her curiosity of him
Yeah,
and support.
for sure. Yeah,
I would say she was pretty supportive.
for sure. Yeah.
I mean, what do you think? What do you think, Judy?
It's true. I feel like, well, hold on, Superman. There's not really a bad Lois Lane. Like, in my
True.
opinion, there's not really a bad Lois Lane. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, there really hasn't really been a bad Lois.
I can't think of any like so far. Most of the Loises like they pretty much like got the character right. Like they have their
Yeah.
own like interpretation of it, but like for the most part now they pretty much nailed it. Yeah, like that's Lois Lane. Yeah.
Yeah. But let me see. Give me one moment. So for Superman 2025, I just want to get her name right. It's Rachel like Brosnahan?
Something like that. Yeah, she was in the show Marvelous Miss Maisel,
Okay.
which my sister loves that show. She says the dialogue is so great, and she loves her as the character because she's very witty, very fast paced, which is just perfect for Lois Lane.
Yeah, Rachel Brosnahan.
Yeah.
Rachel Brosnahan. She was a feisty Lois.
Yes, for sure. Like
Yeah.
I love the interview of the two of them in the beginning of the movie
Yes,
with when she's
same.
interviewing Superman. He thinks it's just something like some fun little thing, like it's like we're just gonna like something very like casual kind of thing, a kind of interview. But like, no, she's taking this serious. Like, no, I'm getting the chance to interview Superman. I'm gonna ask the hard hitting questions here.
Yes. And she definitely brought her A game on him, and he didn't receive that very well.
No.
Because, his feelings for her versus, her job, like everything kind of got like misconstrued.
Yeah, exactly. Like he was taking offense to the fact that like it's like well, Lois, you can't. That's like you don't agree with that. It's like no, but I'm being objective here. It's like I can't put my own opinions to this stuff on this issue because that's not what a good journalist does.
Right.
Yeah.
So they definitely showed her, how great of a journalist she is.
Yeah, like if this like they mentioned like Lois Lane in the 2013 version of Man of Steel, she says she has a Pulitzer. If this Lois, the one from 2025, doesn't already have one, she's gonna get one at some point in her future. Because with the way she is a reporter, heck yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, she was definitely a feisty one for sure. Yeah. But also supportive too.
Yes, she was also a very
Really
good supporter.
supportive.
I feel like I think it was better. I don't know, like because they're both so good because they both like kind of insert themselves into the story in a way. And like I'm trying to think of like I don't know. I almost feel like Man of Steel, Lois Lane. They also kind of like included her too, like because wasn't there was a moment there where they're like on the ship when they're on the ship and they're having super on the Zod ship and Superman's boarding on and they also asked and Zod would also like this woman to come on too and they pointed to Lois Lane. I know they gave a reason as to why she was on there, but we as the audience know she's on that ship because she's Lois Lane.
Right.
Like that's why she's on there. Whereas in Superman 2025, I feel like they did a good job of showcasing why like she's not being chosen to be like part of the plot. No, she's in the plot. Yeah, like she's working like the story behind the scenes, figuring out Lex Luthor's plan and everything. She's going to seek the Justice Gang for help. So like,
Yeah.
I feel like they're both inserting themselves in the plot, but I feel like it made more sense story-wise for the Lois Lane Superman 2025 to do it as opposed to the other one where it's like that story plot is kind of helping you be a part of the plot too, as opposed to you just inserting yourself into it.
And one thing about Lois in Superman 2025, she has been put in a position where she had to save Superman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Versus, the typical Superman saving Lois trope, which pretty much was in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Saved her a few times.
Yeah.
And, she got put in a position where in Superman 2025 where she had to save Superman.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like she's kind of rising to a bigger scenario where she had to rise to the occasion, if you will. And she's also driven by, love as well.
What's another thing too? Like the fact that this Lois Lane is already in a relationship. She already knows his secret identity and they're already in a relationship.
Right.
Whereas like the one in Man of Steel, he hasn't really formed the Clark Kent Daily Planet identity yet.
No.
And this is still very early on in their romantic relationship.
So it's so it's definitely different takes.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are great. I would say both of them are great. None of them are bad.
No.
But I like that they both touch upon different aspects of the character in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So Juju, anything you want to say? Anything you want to add for Lois at all?
Now you want to move on to other side characters?
Yeah, sure, we can.
Sure.
We could talk about like Man of Steel. So like again, very grounded. So it's like mostly military and scientists. Any one of those guys like stand out to you from that Man of Steel movie?
No,
Not really, nah.
not really.
Not
Nah.
really?
I
And
mean,
it's
for the
understandable.
for the military, for Man of Steel, like it's understandable of how like they address the situation like that, but like nothing really stands out for me for them. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
See, to me, I thought they stand out a little bit because that is what you're gonna get if aliens from another planet
Oh my
show
God.
up into
Is
our
it
world.
isn't the general like Martian Manhunter?
Yes, but we don't find that
Yeah,
out until later.
yeah,
Yes, yeah, we don't find that out until
yeah,
later on, but
Until
yes.
like the Snyder Cut Justice League version. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
technically, yes, that is
Yeah.
Martian Manhunter.
That is Martian Manhunter.
But
Yeah.
definitely like the way the military and the scientist characters and those characters, like Emil Hamilton was a character in the Superman lore.
Yeah.
He was in the film,
Mhm.
and those are characters that would respond to a situation that we have. The military would most likely get involved.
Oh, for sure they would.
Yeah.
I mean, if we got an alien invasion, the military, they're going to dispatch all like factors of the military involved in that. And they're going to get scientists involved figuring out like who is this alien, what's about them, how can we stop him, something like that.
Yeah.
So definitely, the Kryptonians are seen more as aliens
Mm-hmm.
in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
They're definitely seen more as aliens, even though they look human, but
Still, yeah.
they're seen more as aliens,
Yeah.
versus Superman 2025, which is a live DC universe.
Yeah, with many heroes already existing there.
So they had the Justice Gang, which I thought were standouts.
I thought they were great. I think all of them had like a standout moment.
Yeah, I thought they were good, but like for a Superman movie, I don't think they should have been there because I just feel like it should have just been a Superman movie. There's him and Crypto and the Daily Planet, but there's no flaws with them. Like I like them, but like I wish they weren't in the movie. There you go.
Yeah. Like it kind of ties into the fact that like I remember I had this discussion with somebody way back when Civil War came out, where they're like, why are there all these like Marvel superheroes in this Captain America movie? And it's like where they have way cooler powers than he does. They have way cooler backstories, and they're way cooler characters than Captain America. And I'm like, I agree. However, remember this. In that movie, every one of those characters that was cooler, had better powers than Captain America, every one of them was either fighting with Captain America on his side or opposing him in his beliefs. He was still the central character of that film. He was still influencing everybody, which is kind of how I feel like in Superman 2025. Like, yeah, we have other Justice League characters, or I'm sorry, Justice Gang characters, other DC characters, and they were all influenced by Superman. Like the only reason they intervened in that conflict was because of Superman.
Question:
Yeah,
isn't Superman the first superhero in the DCU?
No, in the DCE or DCU?
Oh, EU. My bad.
EU, yeah, in
DCU.
DCEU,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
basically
He's
like
the
the
first.
first
Yeah.
like superhero character. Like I think Batman already existed, but
Batman
like,
already.
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah,
already
exactly.
existed, but
Yeah,
there was no like superpowers like Superman. Like he was the
yeah,
first superhero.
yeah,
versus the DCU, that metahumans and all that stuff.
They've been around for 300 years. They've been around
yeah,
for people are used to having metahumans exist in this world. This is not a new thing.
yeah,
Yeah, so Superman's just one of the most powerful ones. So as they touched upon, in the beginning of the film, even though he keeps getting beat up, but okay. That's why I get mad at the movie a little bit because of that. It's like you're the greatest, and
yeah,
you're getting your ass whooped too much.
Yeah.
But definitely, like I'm okay with the Justice Gang being in the film, I can understand what Juju's talking about. Like, yeah, it should have been just a Superman movie. I get that.
Yeah.
But I also understand why they have all these characters because they even made a series.
Crossovers like Batman would show up, Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman. They had a bunch of like random characters show up in the DC universe because it's supposed to be a lived-in universe.
Right. So I can understand the approach because, in those cartoons, back in the day, they always had somebody
Oh
that showed.
yeah,
It's not a
with
Justice League series, not
Yeah.
like the Justice League
yeah,
series, but even the Superman anime series
But
itself.
I do see where you're coming from because, like, keep in mind, like those crossovers didn't start happening until like season 2. We had a full season of just Superman and his supporting cast.
Yes.
yeah,
So it maybe would have been better if we just had that, like, treat this as like a season 1. Like, this is just Superman. This is his characters, his world, just them.
At least maybe one character of the Justice Gang would have been pretty cool.
Yeah,
yeah. Like Mr. Terrific, I think he fits in.
I think he would have been
I don't.
well. It would have been good. Yeah, he would have been a
Yeah,
good character to keep, especially because Mr. Terrific doesn't get that much love. Like no,
he
what I
doesn't.
appreciate is after this movie, people leave and say like, "Yo,
Yeah,
Mr. Terrific is awesome.
yeah.
I want
He's like
more of
the
that guy."
smartest dude in the DC
Yeah.
universe. Like he's
Yeah,
sick.
he stood out. He stood out very well. Yeah, I walked
I,
out of that and I thought of him too. I was like, oh yeah, he's a
I'll say
standout.
one thing about Superman 2025. I feel like I wanted to see the public's like opinion when Superman first came out,
Yeah.
like compared to Man of Steel.
Yeah, because Man of Steel, they were all pretty divided about them. There were some people who were like,
Yeah,
arguing like whether or not like is he here to help us? Should we be accepting of his help? Where some people are like, yeah, clearly he's a good person. Like let's just like let's embrace him. But like it was a lot of division, which there would be if a real life Superman existed in our world. Whereas,
yeah,
like in the Man of Steel, with Superman 2025, it's like he's already been here a while. They know him, they love him. So
yeah,
Yeah, it would have been a great, a different take on, a different. It would have been great to see that fleshed out.
yeah, like let's see, like it's like what?
yeah,
How did they react when they first saw Superman? And
yeah,
also, it'd be different too because in this world, metahumans already existed. So like a
yeah,
superhero character, it wouldn't be that far fetched and it wouldn't be that insane for them to accept. But the one this powerful is something that's made that
yeah,
maybe like hard for them to like be willing to embrace.
And also, but and I also get they want to throw us into the middle of the action. They don't want, like
They want to do another origin story.
right.
yeah.
they're definitely trying to avoid that. So I get that, that aspect of it too. And I'm glad we actually, in terms of Superman 2025, we actually have a legit Jimmy Olsen.
Yes, so we're
Yeah.
on Daily Planet. Oh, Daily Planet characters. Okay, so yeah, I love the Daily Planet. I love the fact that Jimmy's getting a show now. That they're gonna
Yeah.
have a show. They're gonna have a show that's gonna be coming out where it's like Jimmy Olsen, the Daily Planet crew, basically dealing with like the story on from like a reporter side aspect of it, of like the crazy metahuman storylines happening in like Metropolis, which I think that's such a fun idea. That's like an Office style meets metahumans. That's gonna be so fun. I can't wait for that.
That's gonna be very interesting. And
That's
Jimmy Olsen was just as pivotal as Lois Lane or any other character in
Absolutely.
Superman
yeah.
mythology. And Man of Steel, there was no Jimmy Olsen
Yeah,
in Man of
oh,
Steel.
he wasn't in that at
Oh, there
all.
wasn't.
No,
No, not he. Jimmy
Damn.
Olsen showed up in very briefly in Batman v Superman, where he died.
but that was him. Like until like
That was
after
it. That was
Back
Jimmy
where like
Olsen.
I think Zack Snyder confirmed, like, oh yeah, that was Jimmy. Like
he just
I
killed
didn't
Jimmy
even
Olsen out of
I
thin
didn't
air.
even know that.
that was like a very. It's like Superman's bud. Like they were roommates for a bit in the comics. It's like because Jimmy even had his own comic book storyline called My Adventure. Oh, sorry, it was called Jimmy Olsen, Superman's best pal. And in that comic, they introduced Darkseid. Like that was Darkseid's first
That's
appearance in a Jimmy Olsen comic,
That's crazy.
which I'm very hoping. Like that would be the funniest thing if they do that in the show. Like, because they have a show for like if they
yeah.
introduce Darkseid in the Jimmy
It
Olsen
would be
show,
kind of cool. If they team
that'd be
it.
Yeah.
that'd be
It would
so
be
funny.
That'll be a nice surprise. 'Cause nobody would see it coming unless you know about the.
At least you know about the comic. But now everyone who's seeing this, now you know too.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. I
Yeah,
didn't even know Darkseid appeared.
yeah. Like Darkseid
Yeah,
shows
that's
up in the Jimmy
crazy.
Olsen comic. That's
For the first time.
the very first appearance. Like that's awesome. I love that. That's hilarious.
I think they should go with that approach.
Yes.
They should
Like,
make it comedic though.
Yeah, no,
They should
because
make
the
it
the
comedic.
comic of Jimmy Olsen was very much a comedic like comic story. Like it was very very funny. Like it was not taking itself seriously at all. But like that's because Jimmy's a funny character and like he's dealing with very serious threats and he's like dealing with the way a human would. Like it's like this is terrifying. I'm scared, but I'm gonna make jokes because that's how I cope with this situations like
Oh,
this.
the whole show should be comedic, I feel like.
Yes, like it's
Yeah.
like yeah, have like the different metahumans and scary stuff happening, but it's gonna go approach it in a comedic way.
Yeah.
Definitely. And then, and of course now we also have crypto.
Yes,
I love
crypto.
crypto so much.
Who doesn't love crypto?
I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, there's some people who say who did complain about like the fact that like oh it's too cheesy, like a super dog. It's so goofy. I'm like it's comic books, guys. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be a little fun, a
I
little
feel like
cheesy.
crypto should have had a movie before Supergirl. You know.
Super pets, right?
Oh yeah, well, he kind of
Oh,
did. There
he
was the
did.
super
Well,
pets
technically, I forgot that happened. I'm not
that
gonna
did
lie.
happen. Yeah.
The Rock
But I,
Wilson.
people, the key to a lot of people's hearts usually is through a pet,
Yeah, exactly.
especially dogs,
Exactly.
so
James Gunn knows how to do that.
Yeah, he
Like
knows
with
how to
animal
make you feel
characters.
for the
Yeah.
animals.
he definitely has a thing for that. And it's modeled, I think, after his actual dog.
It
Yeah, it
is, yes, like
is.
his, and it's like his line. I think that's where he incorporated a lot of his own like personal touches to that, like because Crypto is like not like the nicest, like what, like loving, most loving dog. Like he like tears apart like Superman's like Fortress of Solitude. Like
Yeah.
he jumps on him and attacks him, but at the same time, it's like you see how Supergirl is with him, so you get like, oh, that's why he's this way.
Exactly. But he comes through.
Yeah, yeah. And like in the end, yeah, the only reason Superman was able to defeat Lex Luthor and like the clone of Superman is because of Crypto.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. So you can't go wrong with a dog. You know what I mean? You just really can't go wrong.
I
We're
just
sensitive.
I just noticed something.
Yeah, it's
Both Superman doesn't incorporate his freezing breath.
He did
'Cause
it.
that's a
He
part
did
of
in
his
the
powers.
oh, in
2025.
2025, yeah, he did do it very
He
brief.
saved the dog.
He saved he well, that wasn't freezing breath, that was just super breath.
Oh, yeah, super breath. Oh, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
in the pocket dimension, when he's saving the baby and Crypto, he does use his freezing breath to freeze like the entrance into the black hole just long enough to get them to escape.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah,
Oh
he
very
does.
yeah.
briefly. But that is an
I forgot.
underutilized power, I feel. Like
Yeah,
you
like
should use it more.
The
Definitely.
Christopher Reeve Superman used that power like so much.
He did use it a lot.
And like it's like
Agreed.
it's a very underrated power, and I feel it's bad because I think it's gonna tie into like what we talked about later about like writing super Kryptonian characters is hard because they have so many powers that low key I genuinely think the writers do kind of forget that they have all these powers.
Yeah.
Try to keep up and how to
Yeah.
use them, too.
Exactly. So it's like you
Yeah.
gotta come up with scenarios that are difficult for them to defeat because they have so many powers that like realistically they shouldn't be able to like be defeated. They should have a power to finish this issue right here.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Next topic.
Yeah, next topic.
All right. All right. Villains. Oh boy, here we go. Infamous Zod and his neck snap. All right. Julie, you want to talk? Let's talk a little about Zod. All right. So what do we got? What do we know about Zod?
I feel like what you said the first thing about the podcast, he's not in the wrong, he's trying to find a new home. So like I like how they made him into like, yeah, he's a villain, but like there's a reason why he's a villain. Like he's just not
Yes.
hateful just to hate it. Like I want to take over just to take over. Like there's a reason why he wants to do it. But yeah.
Definitely. Michael Shannon also had a great performance. He's also another great actor.
Oh yeah,
No,
phenomenal
he's
acting,
good.
man.
He was always a great actor. And, Zod also, I think he was driven by desperation.
Yeah, because keep in mind, like we said before, in this interpretation of Krypton, uh, they are all bred for a single purpose. Like he was bred to be a soldier to protect Krypton. There is no Krypton, so he is absolutely desperate to bring that back so he can fulfill his purpose of protecting it.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
Sure.
So I definitely think that that was one of his motivations.
Yeah.
Is he was desperate. He put the Kryptonian people first.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who
By any
wouldn't? Who wouldn't be?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, like, who wouldn't?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but that's why I don't really fault him in that sense.
Yeah.
Of course, his approach is fucked up. You know what I mean?
He's destroying one planet and their civilization so that so his planet can survive, basically.
But I don't fault him for why he's doing what he's doing. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it's desperation. When a person is desperate, you do desperate things, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing.
Oh, yeah. All right, so do we want to continue down this road where his relationship with Superman all the way through Zod, then we go to Lex?
Sure.
All right, so we'll keep going. Our relationship with Superman. So how is his relationship with Superman? I mean, he already kind of had like a bit of animosity towards him simply because he didn't like his father.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he didn't really hate him. Like when he first saw him, he didn't really hate him. Like he was trying to like recruit him.
Yeah,
in a
if
way.
anything, like
Yeah.
Zod was trying to work with him, saying like, I'm
Exactly,
Kryptonian, you're
yeah.
Kryptonian. We should both want our planet to live again.
Yes.
Yeah. Started hating him when he went against him.
Yeah, but by
That's
the
it.
end, when he basically destroyed any chance of Krypton coming back, then it's like, okay, you know what? You have just destroyed my one chance to fulfill my purpose. So now I'm just gonna kill you.
Yeah, pretty much. He gave him his chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he did.
But he definitely, there was the animosity there because he is the son of Jor-El.
Yes.
But he also respected Jor-El too.
Yes, he did. Yes.
Zod respected Jor-El as well.
Mm-hmm.
There was a mutual respect there. Their ideologies are different and what the future of Krypton is.
Mm-hmm.
So he went that same approach. Zod went that same approach with Superman as well. Like he respected him. He wants to be on the same side.
Exactly. But ultimately it's like, no, they were too Superman made his choice. He chose the people of Earth over Krypton.
It wasn't no hard feelings like when they first met.
Yeah, exactly. No. He wasn't trying. He wasn't trying to like approach this in a way. Like he even said to like he basically made it a loud basically just to the entire world basically saying, "Hey, we're here. We know that there's an alien amongst you. We want to talk to him."
Pretty much.
Yeah, so that's basically it. Like there was it only became more animosity once Superman made his choice and basically stopped Zod from being able to accomplish what he wanted to do.
So, which ties into like, is he hateable? I don't think he's hateable.
No. I don't think he's hateable either.
Yeah, because like you said before, like it's like you understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, like
and I do want to address the elephant in the room when it comes to this. Like you said before, the next snap.
Yeah.
Some people absolutely hate that.
Yeah.
I don't.
I didn't either when it first came out. I mean, I was shocked, but at the same time, like, no, that was the right decision.
Yeah.
So, the next snap. Do you agree with this? Should Superman have done that or no?
the next snap, no.
No.
No. I feel like there's another way. You're telling me that you can't just fly up instead of
There were
snapping
multiple ways he could handle this. Like, yeah. But at the same time, it's like he didn't know about the Phantom Zone. Well, actually, the Phantom Zone already like put away the other Kryptonians and like got rid of them. But like he had no way of accessing that again. So realistically, like, what are you gonna do with this guy? Where can you? There's no prison that you have here that can contain him.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I agree with the next snap. Superman killing doesn't really happen often.
No,
but it does happen.
He does. He has done it in the past. Like he doesn't necessarily he doesn't have like a very strict no kill rule like Batman does.
So
he prefers not to do it.
I think that was the only logical way to kind of to stop Zod because he wasn't gonna stop.
He even said that too. It's like I was like, as long as I'm breathing, I will never stop destroying what you love. And it's like that's like, well, okay then. You've made it pretty clear you're not going to stop. So
what I also loved about it was a little details. Well, after he broke Zod's neck, he screamed in agony. He felt that pain of taking a life.
Yeah, lads, like he didn't want to do that, but he knew that he had to.
So that's what kind of locked in of Superman, just being true to the character.
Yeah.
He didn't want to do that.
No.
And he felt bad that he did that.
Yeah.
But he knew that was the ultimate decision.
For sure. Yeah.
So I definitely agree, with the next snap.
Yeah.
Shocking. but I do agree with it.
Yeah. All right, Lex Luthor, motivation and goals. This man is a hater. He just freaking he just hates.
Hates.
He created a whole ass war just so he could get government approval to kill Superman.
Yeah, he's the goat of hate of global hating.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. He's a go of rage baiting too.
Yeah. Oh my
Rage baiting
God. Yes.
Superman.
Yeah. When he was like rage baiting Superman, when he came into there like looking for a crypto.
Crypto, yeah.
He was such a hater.
I say
you
that
know?
whole scene explained their relationship.
I kind of hope they
Yeah.
flesh out in the future. Like, why you hate him so much?
Like I feel like we know as readers, and then we know the history behind these two, like why like Lex hates him. But I would like to see it too. I would like to see them explain, flesh out a little bit more, like because this is like Superman who's been around for 3 years, so like they know each other.
Mm-hmm.
There's already a like established relationship there. I want to see how this Lex reacted to when he first learned about Superman's existence. But
Yeah.
like, how did he react to this?
Because right now he just looks like just a big hater.
Oh, yeah, no.
You know?
Aren't they working together in the next one?
They are. We're going
They
up
are.
against Brainiac. So like I think
Yeah,
it'd be cool if we
Brainiac.
had some flashbacks of like Lex first meeting Superman. Well, not necessarily meeting him, but like knowing of who Superman is, basically. Like when he first
Or even in conversation, because they're going to be working together.
That's
Maybe
cool.
he can express like why he dislikes him
him
so
so
much.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, whatever that may be, whatever reasons, that may be.
Yeah. So that kind of ties into the relationship with Superman too, because like literally his motivation is to kill Superman. And that's basically it. He did all this just so he could do that. And his relationship with
Yeah.
Superman is just that. He hates him.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
hates all that he is, all that he represents.
So it's pretty cut and dry with him, really.
Yeah, it's like
He's not as complex as Zod.
no, definitely not. But in terms of hateability, I think this Lex is the one that we kind of love to hate because like he has
Yeah.
that bravado to him. Like he thinks he's high and mighty. That he's the kind of character where it's like I can't wait to see you like everything, your whole plan just fall apart. I can't wait to see you come tumbling down.
Kinda don't-
And Nicholas Holt was his
Yeah.
performance was great as Lex too.
Mhm.
You could argue one of the best Lex Luthors on screen.
Yeah.
know?
I kind of don't hate him at all. I kind of
No.
love him. I kind of like him. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't really hate him either.
I mean, in terms of like, I like him as like I like Nicholas Hoult. I like the portrayal, and in terms of like, I hate the fact that like he. I mean, I love the fact that he exists because he exists like to oppose Superman in the same way like Joker with Batman.
Mhm.
But like, I guess it's like if I were existing in that universe, I would hate him because literally
Yeah.
we're getting the crossfires because of you just hating on this man right here. Like you literally almost tore apart the Earth simply so that you could kill one man.
Yeah.
Pretty
like,
much.
Like I'm caught in between your beef with this dude, which I have nothing to do with.
Another thing, I like how they showed his intelligence.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
they
We
definitely,
definitely get the
compared to
feel like
others.
this Lex Luthor is very intelligent.
Yeah.
absolutely. I would say, yeah. They definitely touched upon his intelligence and he does have a little bit of bravado,
Like for sure.
but I'm curious to see how that fleshes out with him as well.
Mhm.
Performance was great though.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Nicholas Hoult did a phenomenal job as the character, and I can't wait to see how he does with like working alongside Superman in the next one. Because I know that's he's gonna betray Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna have a tenuous like partnership for now, but he's gonna figure out a way to like backstab him at some point.
Definitely.
Yep. All right.
All right.
What was the thing I was gonna say about Lex? I love the fact that he's intelligent, but he doesn't have much common sense because that man managed to clone Superman, but still doesn't know that Clark Kent is Superman.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
No, it does make sense because Lex in the comics, he cannot fathom the idea that someone with that much power would want to have a 9-to-5 job
True.
and just want to live amongst human beings because he
True.
himself knows that if he had that power, he
Yeah.
would want to be worshipped as a god.
Yeah, This Lex is the representation of of the perception of billionaires now.
Yes, absolutely.
You know?
we don't need to have like it's like we don't need to necessarily read a comic to see a Lex Luthor character. They exist in real world now.
Do you think the clone isn't dead, right?
Oh, I don't think he's dead. He
You
went
think-
into a black hole, so like unless we see a body confirming him being dead, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it's coming
You-
back as Bizarro or something.
Yeah, I was gonna
Bizarro,
say,
yeah, I was about to
I can
ask
see him
you,
coming
yeah.
back as Bizarro. I can see that clone evolving into
Oh,
Bizarro.
yeah, I was like, which I'd be down for. I'd be cool to see that.
Ends up in Bizarro
Yeah.
World and just kind of like deforms as he.
Yeah, as he gets,
He is a clone.
he is a
We
clone of
haven't
Superman.
really even see Bizarre that much in Superman media.
Not really, and I feel like he's an underrated, like I wouldn't even say villain because like he
He's
just
not.
he doesn't know what to do. He's like a child, like with Superman's powers, who's just
Yeah.
sort of lost and
Exactly.
confused.
Yeah, exactly. So
And like in the animated series, like he tries to help by doing the opposite of what is helping, basically.
pretty much.
Yeah.
So what we have next?
Last one, rewatchability.
So our last topic. So rewatchability. I would say both films do have rewatchability.
Now talking about it more, I feel like I think Superman 2025 can
Yeah.
be more rewatchable. Yeah.
I love Man of Steel. I will watch that as religiously. I do love that
Yeah.
film a lot. I've rewatched it thousands of times. I've only
Yeah.
seen Superman 2025 3 times. I saw it last night just to refresh. I remember Man of Steel very well, so I didn't rewatch that again. But in terms of rewatchability, I would say both films though. I'm appreciating Superman 2025 more, especially after watching Supergirl.
That's a topic for another.
That's time for another time. But David Cornstarr Superman was great in it.
I did. I liked him more in that one too.
So I appreciate him more. So I guess when I'm watching it again, I appreciate the film,
Hmm.
more than I did when I initially watched it.
Yeah. I'll say they're both rewatchable. Yeah.
Would you say for both
Yeah.
or
Yeah. They're both rewatchable. Yeah. Well, Man of
so
Steel
definitely
though, I like the soundtrack more and the flying scenes more, but like they're both rewatchable.
flying scenes are
Right.
sick
Yeah, like him
with the
flying.
Yeah.
music
Oh,
too.
wait, him flying for the very first time, that was pretty iconic. Yeah.
I
That
had
was really
goosebumps in
cool.
the theater when I saw
Yeah.
that.
Oh my god, yeah, because especially because like, oh, so you feel for it too, like, because I know people complain saying like, oh, the Superman doesn't smile. Like he does smile. I'm so happy he's flying for the first time. Like it's exciting for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Definitely. And even the Man of Steel theme song
Yeah.
became
It's
iconic,
really
To
good.
this,
Yeah.
yeah.
along with the original Superman
Yeah,
theme as well.
they do kind of use both. I mean, they have his own like man, which I kind of like the idea where like this is his theme, the Man of Steel theme, or like in the infancy of him becoming Superman, then he kind of grows into the Superman iconic Superman theme that we all know. It's
So
like I would be cool. I would nice to see. So like I do feel like both are pretty rewatchable. Now having seen Man of Steel this morning again, I'm like I've always liked this movie. I always thought even knowing like what happens in the future with the DCEU and doesn't all work out that well, I still can go back to Man of Steel and know like this is still a very solid Superman film. I
Yeah.
do enjoy it, even if there are some choices they may have made that I'm not super on board with, but at the same time, I still like it as a movie, and I do love this Superman 2025 movie now, having rewatched that as well, because it's everything I want out of a Superman movie. It's what I want to see from this character and his world, and I can't wait to see them explore even more.
Yep.
I'm gonna throw something out there while we're on this topic
Yep.
for and I hope I'm correct, in the future. We're living in a time where like a lot of characters are returning to the big screen. Characters you don't expect. Like we're living in a time where we see Blade again. We're seeing, Wesley Snipes is Blade.
Yeah.
We're seeing, Elektra, all the Deadpool Wolverine characters. We're seeing Michael Keaton as Batman. We're seeing Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield coming back as Spider-Man. Why can we see in the future Henry Cavill return as the Injustice Superman in the DC universe? Why not?
That could be cool.
If they do the Injustice storyline, I think that Henry Cavill Superman would be an appropriate choice to go down that path of the Injustice Superman, because you've seen in the cartoons and in the video games two Superman fighting each other.
Yeah.
So you have the good one and the bad one. So
Yeah, I
why
feel
didn't
like-
we have David Cornsweet versus Henry Cavill Superman
Yeah.
one day?
I feel like not. Well, it's the same thing. Like not directly into an injustice storyline, but like him returning as the bad Superman.
Like it would,
Like,
and it, and all
Oh,
signs kind of point to
he
it.
could also play Ultraman too. Like, I mean, granted, we did have Ultraman
oh,
in 2025,
yeah.
but like that was more of I actually you know what, they're probably not going to do Ultraman then in the way that they in the Earth 3 version of it, where it's like he's an evil Superman and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're going to do that.
So I
Maybe
think,
Cyborg Superman,
yeah, or your Cyborg Superman.
Cyber.
Eradicator. There are a lot of evil Supermen that they could pull from, man. Like
Yeah.
it's,
The only reason why I say the Injustice Superman because in the DCU was kind of setting that up anyway.
it was yes.
I freaking
So
hated that.
so
I I hated that they portrayed Superman into like a villain
Yeah,
in the
because at the
DCU.
time, I get where Zack Snyder was coming from because like, at the time, Injustice was so popular, and
it
so
was.
everybody
Yeah.
was liking like, oh yeah, like evil Superman is the best way to portray the character. Like this is what people like
Nah, man.
about him, and it's like, no, like once in a while, sure, but I don't want that to be the default
Yeah.
Superman now.
Right.
Same thing why I hated Injustice because of that storyline.
But
No, I like the game, but the storyline.
but that's why I think that it would be a great idea to have both Superman on screen.
Yeah, I see that.
And that version of Superman is also not just flat out evil either. You know what I
No,
mean? Like, he was
No.
a brokenhearted Superman, if you
Yeah,
will.
the
yeah,
reason
like
why.
he lost
Yeah.
Lois Lane, and that. Well, yeah, he lost Lois
Yeah,
Lane.
yeah, he
Yeah,
lost Lois
That
Lane,
that's a
so
stupid way of losing Lois Lane, though. You're
it
telling me you can't
was.
recognize that's not Doomsday? Like that's so
Yeah, that
stupid.
was a little, yeah, I can agree to that too.
yeah.
But it would be cool. It would be cool to have them both actors as Superman come back.
Yeah, and Sheriff
Yeah.
Screen together fighting against each other.
And fighting against
Yeah,
each other.
I agree.
And in the film, in the animated film for Injustice, they Lois Lane essentially was the reason why the evil Superman stopped.
Yeah, he
He
was.
was winning.
Yeah,
He was
yeah, he
winning against
was.
the other Superman, but then Lois Lane came up, and basically he was sort of just reminded to just like, oh my God, what have I become? Like she's right. Like Lois would not approve of what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
One more thing, they treated Wonder Woman like a piece of shit in that game. I hated that too.
Yes, they did.
I hated
Oh
that
man,
too.
oh poor Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Ugh.
Same with
That-
Damian Wayne. So much, bro.
I agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
All right, well,
Definitely. So definitely rewatchability for both.
I agree. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
I think in the end, like again, like we've all said before, like this wasn't meant to be like which is better. It's more of like just comparing like all the different aspects of these characters, and there's gonna be so many different interpretations of him moving forward as well. But like, it all depends on what you prefer. Like, what version of the character what interpretation do you like more? Me, I actually really like this. I like the hopeful Superman. So I like the
Yeah, same.
2025 like James Gunn Superman. I'm excited to see where Man of Tomorrow takes us.
It's
Yeah.
growing on me.
Yeah.
It's growing after rewatching it. Initially I was a little hard on David Corn Sweat Superman a little bit. I'm not a fan of the red underwears and stuff, but
What? You don't like the underwear?
I don't like the underwear.
What?
I feel like it's
love the
outdated.
underwear.
It is outdated, but I feel like I agree why they did it is because of the fact that it is cheesy, it is a little corny, but like it's Superman.
Yeah.
Because it's like
So I get it.
yeah.
Yeah, a little quickness.
But that's it. That's what we have is our
All right. First one down, guys. So thank you. Hopefully you guys enjoyed us. If you made it to the very end, please let us know like what other topics you want us to discuss in the future. And yeah, we'll hopefully be doing more of this in the future. Thank you.
Also, we will be posting, quick out of the theater reaction for Supergirl, which we did film. So we're gonna post that as well. All right. So this is our first video. So any other topics, any questions? Feel free to comment and see any future topics.
Yeah.
More to come. Okay.
Thanks, guys. All right. Peace out.
See you later.